Hey everybody, welcome back to the Modern Trumpeter podcast. From time to time, we like to feature younger players to hear their insights and perspective as they begin building their careers, and we also love highlighting outstanding female trumpet players and introducing you to these incredible musicians while also helping inspire the next generation of women in trumpet. Today, we get the best of both worlds with our guest, Grace Fox. Grace Fox is a trumpeter and composer from New Jersey and is a recent graduate of the Manhattan School of Music, where she majored in jazz art. She studied jazz trumpet under the tutelage of MSM Dean of Jazz Arts Ingrid Jensen, as well as John Faddis and Nadia Nordhaus. Grace's jazz ensemble, the Grace Fox Big Band, has an all-female lineup and recently released its debut album, 1107. Recently, the band was featured in the Times Square Live music series and has also played at iconic New York jazz clubs such as Dizzy's Club, Jazz at Lincoln Center, and Birdland. Grace has also played lead trumpet for the Grammy Award-winning artist Jon Batiste at Carnegie Hall, the Newport Jazz Festival, and Brooklyn Steel. Grace has also played lead trumpet in the International Ellington Orchestra at Rose Hall Theater. She is a Warburton signature artist and published author and artist under Brava Jazz. If you are brand new to the podcast, welcome and thank you for being with us. Later on this year, we are publishing our book, The Modern Trumpeter, A Guide to Building a Versatile and Successful Career. With insights and stories from over 50 professional trumpet players working in all different fields, this book gives you the tools, mindset, and insider knowledge to turn your talent into a sustainable career. Insights, stories, and behind the scenes of the music industry are provided by the likes of Wayne Bergeron, Bobby Shue, Bria Skomberg, Bijan Watson, Marcus Printup, Glenn Marhevka, Dave Richards, Jay Webb, Jerry Hay, Brian McDonald, Kiku Collins, and many, many more. Follow us on Instagram at Modern Trumpeter or visit moderntrumpeter.com to stay updated and join our mailing list. And if you know a trumpet player who would love this podcast and upcoming book, please share it with them. Now, here's my interview with Grace Fox. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Modern Trumpeter podcast. Today we are speaking with New York trumpeter Grace Fox. Grace, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit more of your background in the trumpet, how you first got into the trumpet and at what point you wanted to make trumpet your career.
Sure. Yeah, I was very involved in my high school band program. I loved marching band. I was the lead trumpet player in the jazz band. I was my whole life. And yeah, there was never like an idea that I would do anything else. Like I was just like, yeah, I'm going to music school. I just kind of always knew. So my grandfather was a band director of a drum and bugle corps, and he played trumpet a bit. And I didn't get to know him super well because he passed when I was really young. But as a child, I had so much energy, like just bouncing off the walls. And I vividly remember one day my mom was just like, "We're going to music and arts." And we gotta put this energy somewhere, take an instrument. I already knew that my grandfather played trumpet, and I vividly remember staring at the wall of music and arts, staring at a trumpet and a trombone, and literally the thought process was, well, the slide looks fun, but I love pressing buttons, so I'll choose the trumpet. And yeah, I didn't know what a crazy, finicky.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but here we are.
Seems to be the case for most people who are like, oh,
Totally.
I thought this would be easy. There's only 3 buttons.
Yeah, right.
And so then you got playing, and then in high school, was there a moment where you're just like, yeah, I want to do this, or was it more of a gradual process?
Yeah, I think it was a gradual process. Yeah, like I said, I was really involved in the program. I had great band directors. I still keep in touch with one of them today. When I was in the jazz band, I was kind of just a section player. I really was fascinated with like how section playing works, like cutoffs and entrances, and I was like, wow, that's so uniform, but it's not, and it's different every time, and we're working together for to get to one goal. It's so cool. And then the lead trumpet player that was in the band at the time was graduating, and no one else wanted to play lead, and I was like, I'll try.
Wow.
And that's kind of how I got into it. I love playing lead and section playing, and that's kind of my thing.
Yeah. What were some of your like first trumpet influences around that time?
First trumpet influences.
Maybe along the lines of lead trumpet players that you love
hmm
listening to and are inspired by.
At that time, um, I really loved Maynard. I mean, I have my own big band and it's kind of like the same style. Like you have a big band playing your music and then the lead trumpet player is the director and they turn around and hit a high note and that's the
Yeah.
show. But I was really fascinated with that and let's see, I love Thad's music in high school and Snooky Young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so then after high school, where did you go to school? What was kind of been your journey since then?
Yeah, so I graduated high school in 2020, and I went to Mason Gross, which is Rutgers, New Brunswick, and it was completely virtual for a year because of COVID. So, yeah, college from my bedroom, super weird. I was actually a jazz ed major. I mean, that thought process, honestly, I mean, I know I was never super into like I want to be a band director. It's my passion, and I knew like in the back of my mind that you have to be 110% in to being a band director for it to possibly ever work out. And I was at like a 50%.
Uh,
You know, I and
yeah.
honestly, the reason why I went down that, you know, that route is just, you know, um job security. It was, I mean, making the decision at 17, 18 years old, already freaked out and, you know, I know nothing about the world. Yeah, so that, you know, there was that decision. I remember during this year, this remote year, I was taking a brass ed course and I had to drive to the school to pick up brass instruments. And I had picked up a few. I picked up the trombone and the French horn and I had to go back to get the tuba. And I remember driving back home with a tuba in my tiny car thinking, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. I'm dropping out. Like I can't continue doing this. And I did. So there I studied with Joe Mazzello and Tam Greenblatt. And that was hands down the best part of that experience. And then yeah, I pretty much dropped out the start of the next year before the first day of classes. And yeah, I had already been kind of internet friends with Kellen, and I was talking to her and whatnot, and she was like, "Yeah, like I'm at MSM right now, and man, it would be so great to go to school with you." And I'd kind of been talking to Ingrid Jensen, who was the dean at the time, and we just kind of got the ball rolling, and I was admitted in the spring of that year. So very, yeah, very quick turnaround. Yeah, and I was there kind of to be like, okay, Grace is here to play lead. We needed a lead trumpet player. And I did every big band cycle and yeah, was there for 3.5 years and I just graduated in May of 20, whatever last May was.
2025?
Five, yeah, five.
Just recently.
Yes.
And what was that experience like for you? Like living in Manhattan, going to one of the best music schools in the country, and kind of totally changing your education and trajectory.
Yeah, honestly, like any school, there are ups and downs. The first 2 years that I was there, I think I was really, really excited about the city. I'm from South Jersey, so not too far away, but like I didn't really come to the city much as a kid. But there came a point where I was like, miss my car. I miss smelling fresh air. I miss, you know, yeah, so kind of went through some phases there. But I was so excited. I still am. There's always music, there's always something to do, there's people everywhere. I have a great support system here. So that was really exciting. So every year, or I guess every couple of semesters at MSM, I switched trumpet teachers. So I studied with all four trumpet teachers at the time, which was Ingrid Jensen, John Faddis, Nadia Nordhaus, Scott Wenthold, and I also got composition lessons from Darcy James Argue. So really got my money's worth,
Yeah.
really packed it in. And I'm so glad I did that because I took little, like you said, little bits of gold, little gold nuggets from all 5 of them that I still use today, specifically like fundamental stuff that's really helped me in like the professional world. So yeah, that was kind of the experience.
That's great. For anybody who's, I like how you said that when you first were moving there, you're like just excited to be in the city and stuff. And then after a couple of years, you're like, oh, I miss these other things. Like,
Hmm.
what would you say to some young musicians who are like kind of in the maybe the same boat where they're like, New York, I want to go, I want to live there, I want to be there, and like, which is wonderful, but not everything is as it seems. What would you say to some of those young players of like, this is great, yes, come, but also here's how it is and what it's like.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like scare the young generation, but you know, it is a big decision no matter what profession you go into. I'm 23 years old. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that we as a society let 17 to 18-year-olds just choose what they want to do, sign their life away in student loans, and you know, it's bold. It's a bold life choice that everyone makes. So
Yeah.
what I would say is, you know, I mean, if you just moved to the city and you're feeling that way, like either homesick or just, oh, you know, the city was exciting, but now it's kind of like, you know, tearing me down a little. The city is, you know, it's small, but it's big. You know, I'd say if you're feeling like you need to go touch grass, go to Central Park or, you know, rent a car or wherever, drive to New Jersey, drive to upstate, and just, you know, if you can get away for like a day or 2, you know, I feel super refreshed when I do that. I
Mm.
really benefit from that, and yeah, also be smart about the choice in school that you make. Obviously, I mean, at the time that I chose Rutgers, I was like, I don't want to do this, but it's time to go to college and everyone else is choosing this route, so I'm going to do that too. You know, no path is wrong because it's your own path, but I would really encourage younger people to reach out to those who are either currently in that school or in a position that you would like to be in 4 to 5 years.
Mm, hmm.
Also, if not most important, get a trial lesson with the teacher you want to study with. I
Yeah.
think that is the most important thing about music schools is the teacher that you study with at the time. Yeah, super important to have good relationship with them and understand their teaching and seeing if it works out, yada yada. And yeah, that's my little spiel.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. I especially love what you say about like, yeah, get a trial lesson because there's so many great players and so many great schools. And sometimes I think players are like, oh, I need to go to this school because it's the prestige and all this, and like, which is great. But if you don't get along with the trumpet professor who you're going to study with, like that's going to make it a lot harder and can save you a lot of time and effort by doing that beforehand. Is that something you did before going to the Manhattan School of Music?
It was hard. First of all, I didn't know that I was gonna study with every professor there. I did get one lesson with Ingrid. It was like a dual lesson with Kellen on the day of my like unofficial audition. So yeah, I did do that.
We'll count that. That's still good.
Yeah.
And then, what are your thoughts on like graduate degrees and trying to get like an advanced degree? Is that necessary for? And maybe this is maybe in the New York area and maybe just your circles, but that's kind of a question a lot of people have is like, okay, well, what do I do after that? Like, maybe I get a master's degree because everybody else is, or maybe I get a doctorate because that's what my teacher said I should do. You know, and of course everybody's path is different, but would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Sure. So I got my undergrad at MSM. I'm not planning on getting a master's degree, but I know tons of people who are. For me, I was kind of set up with work, enough work in the scene that I want to be in, where I could just be like, I think I'll be good. Like I'm feeling, you know, I don't need that right now. I know school is always an option. School is always going to be there. But for me, it wasn't like it wasn't necessary. A lot of people that I talk to want the piece of paper, so they can go on to teach professionally, like in
Right.
colleges, which is so valid. And I know people who chose the path that I chose, which is I got my undergrad, I waited 10 years, and then I was like, I want to be on faculty somewhere. So they went back in their 30s or 40s and got their master's degree. School will literally always be there. The scene
Mhm.
changes rapidly. And it's also like a financial thing as well. Like if you're
Yeah.
still finding your footing, and you're like, I don't have a lot, set up right now, and I have student loans, and this is not the right time. Go to grad school, get your
Yeah.
doctorate. I see a lot of people doing that. And some people are just like, they love school. Like my girlfriend is a cellist and she loves school. She's getting her master's right now at Eastman, and she just thrives. She loves school. She loves learning. That was not the case for me, but um yeah, everyone's path is different. There's no wrong choices. Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Like, yeah, I'm one of those that's like school was like, get me out of here. I don't
Yeah,
want to be
same.
here. Want to play.
I had like super senioritis.
And then yeah, so for both of us, it's like, well, maybe not a master's, with
Mhm.
the kind of things we have and the goals and whatnot. And so speaking of which, what kind of work are you doing? Like you said, you had a lot of work come up, so master's was kind of like, eh. So what are you currently doing? What are your kind of like future plans as well, career wise?
So Broadway has always been like a goal of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like throughout my undergrad degree, I was just like, that would be such a cool thing to do when I get there in maybe 10 years, like down the line, it's gonna happen. In December of last year, really amazing trumpet player and wonderful person, Chloe Rollins, was the chair holder on Gypsy. And she reached out to me and she was like, "Do you want to sub for me?" And I was like, "Holy shit, yes, yes." So I just was kind of thrown into that, environment, and quickly learned, the Broadway scene is very different from the jazz scene. There are a lot of unspoken rules, and yeah, it was very, very interesting to learn everything. But I was thrown in. There's three trumpets at Gypsy, and I ended up subbing on all three chairs multiple times. I played like over 85 shows for the run,
Wow.
and it was life changing. It was a huge learning experience and so fun. And yeah, that same contractor who contracted Gypsy reached out to me a few months before the run ended, and she was like, "I'm contracting a new off-Broadway show. Are you interested?" And so that's what I'm doing right now. The trumpet player on a new off-Broadway musical called The Seat of Our Pants. And yeah, I'm just really into the subbing thing, the Broadway thing. I'm liking it.
That's great. Well, and like, one of those people I spoke to before with was Bijan Watson. And
Hmm.
he was saying that like back in the day, years ago, that those Broadway gigs were kind of looked at as like low echelon gigs, and like kind of like, oh, you're doing one of those, like, oh, you're one of those players that's doing this low paying gig and like low music gig, whatever, whatever. And now it's like those same people are like kind of fighting for those spots because it's a consistent source of income, while the run
Hmm.
is going and whatnot. So I'm sure that gives you and anybody else who's playing those shows a little bit of financial security, knowing that you got some money rolling in for the time being, and especially if after that first show, after Gypsy going into this new show, is like, oh, that's nice. Like you got stuff
Yeah.
going. So it's like maybe I almost, for lack of a better term, it sounds like a day job, even though it's all evenings.
Yeah, totally.
And there's like some unspoken rules like in the Broadway scene. What are
Hmm.
rules that come to mind?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone is different. I've just heard stories because I'm like, I don't know what the protocol is here. I don't want to overstep. I never want to overstep, yada, yada, yada. There are some rules, unspoken rules about like, okay, if this one shareholder has a sub, they automatically, quote unquote, owe work to other people who have given them work, which makes sense.
Mm.
But again, because of this like unspoken, like there's no rule book for this. If you don't know the rule, or you get judged for it. Like, oh, well, this, I let this person sub for me, and they didn't call me when they had their show, or this person only gave me 2 shows, so when I have a show, I'm only gonna give them 2 shows. I get it, but I'm also like, man, it's so different from what I'm used to. So that was one um that I was like, wow, that's kind of insane.
That sounds really interesting. Like that makes sense, you know, from the kind of a bird's eye view. Like I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Mhm.
But that's interesting that like if you don't return the favor, then like that word can get around, and then like I'm not doing this, and like there's like almost like a whole sub level of like you got to be able to play, but also you got to like play the politics right. It sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to be a good player, you have to be a good person, and if you're lacking in either one of those, I feel, word gets around super fast, and I've seen it happen. So just be a nice person.
Yeah,
We
that's
won't have
like
any
like
problems.
that's like right in the beginning of one of my books is like, look, number one, you just got to be a nice person.
Yeah,
If that like you're gonna be fine. If you're not, like, good luck.
totally. Yeah.
But yeah, what are some other of those like kind of like politics or things that like you got to think about that they don't the things they don't teach you at music school, like that you should know as you're working in the music scene in general, but you know if you have anything specific to Broadway in New York, definitely that as well.
Yeah. Subbing protocol is something that I was very unfamiliar with coming in. I was so eager to play the show for Chloe. She was playing the second chair, but she sent me the third trumpet book. So she was like, okay, how this works is you come in on the lowest book, and then if you can play it as well as the chair holder, you bump up, and
Mhm.
you keep bumping up if you want to. And so yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, and there are circumstances where like yeah, so and so bumped up, but then they started, kind of slacking a little, so we had to bump them back down. Like,
Uh,
and that must feel like so awful. Like, and you
yeah.
just can't let it get to you, and it's just how it is. There's a lot of, every pit is different. But I really loved the pit at Gypsy because it was so fun, like, they made it so exciting, and the conductor, Andy Einhorn, was so, like, serious because it is serious.
Mhm.
Like, you come in and he can tell if you haven't spent time with the book, and he was like, "Well, this is an iconic show, and, like, he knows the worth of it, and it is that serious."
Yeah.
so respect that. So it was kind of nerve-wracking subbing for the first time, but it went well, and yeah, but that was kind of like a shock to digest all of that information really quick and then come in and be like, yeah, this is my first time here, guys.
Yeah.
I hope I play a good show.
Yeah. Yeah, and the conductors and contractors are not the same people, right? They're separate people.
Yeah, they're separate people. I think most of the time the contractor is the first violinist, and they kind of source out the people they want in the pit, and Tomoko was the contractor for that show, and she just did a phenomenal job. Like, it was really, really good people there.
Yeah, that's great. And then how long is this new show you have?
It's a short run. It just got extended another week until the first week of December. It's been going for like a month now, and there's a few weeks left. We might get extended again, but I'm not sure. It's a wild it's a wild show. It's 3 hours long. There's 11 people in the pit, and a lot of them are from Gypsy. which is really cool. But we're all on stage the entire time. So
Not below.
it is a blow. Yeah, but we'll see if it gets extended. I'm fine either way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, those shows that are a blow, tough. I'm playing spam a lot right now, and it's like, yeah, that's a there's a lot there, but it's but it's
Yeah,
fun at the same time.
totally. Yeah, this is unlike a book I've ever played before. I don't play for like half of the show, like half of the numbers like I have off.
Wow.
And I've never played a book like that. And it has its own challenges, like endurance is not an issue, but the flexibility and precision is like you have to think 10 times harder because you haven't played for 12 minutes and then you come in on this like really high exposed thing.
Yeah,
It's fun, like it's a challenge, and yeah,
yeah,
it's a cool
which
book.
is which is great. That's what we want. We want to keep getting challenged, right?
Hmm.
So then, do you have any shows coming up after CW Pants?
Yeah, I've been subbing. Well, I'm gonna sub for Kellen a bit on Heather's.
Hmm.
Um, I had my first show a day before my show started, so I'm gonna go back. Um, but they keep getting extended. I think they just got a new cast and they're going until May now, which is almost a year for them, which is pretty impressive. It's just really popular. Yeah, and then that's another thing, like subbing protocol. Some people, oh, that's what I was gonna say before. If you want to sub on a Broadway show, there's a certain way to go about it, and it's again unspoken rules, and it's different for everyone. Most people, I think that their shareholders hate cold calls, which is like this random person or young trumpet player, hey, I want to sub for you on your show. They're usually like, no, I owe work to 40 other people. That's funny, but
Yeah,
I mean, there's all these shows that I would love to sub on, but it's just kind of like you reach out and you're like, hey, I would love to come one night and watch the book. No pressure. I want to learn the show, no pressure though, that kind of thing. So there's some, there's some work to be done to get on some other shows, but we'll, we're working on it.
yeah, which makes sense. And so, what else are you doing in the meantime, trumpet wise and career wise?
Yeah, so let's see. I have some other somewhat consistent things here and there. There's a salsa band that I play in. There's a wedding band that I sometimes play in, but I'm trying to do less of those. Doing a workshop in South Dakota. Um, One-off recording sessions. Basically, just trying to keep in touch with all of my contacts
Hmm.
and just be a good person. I'm around, I'm available. Let's grab coffee. That stuff is important,
Yeah.
so that's for the trumpet career side of it. That's kind of what's going on. I've recently been getting into doing remote management work for other musicians, like social media, website building, data management. I just started, but I'm trying to build my client list, and that's been super, super helpful.
Yeah.
There's just always work there, and you can do it wherever, and it's great.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'm writing some big band charts and trying to get my big band's website together and stuff. All the really fun, super fun stuff that everyone really wants to do
Yeah.
is what I'm doing.
I understand that. Man, there's so much to unpack there. This is great.
Yeah.
Where to begin? Um, so when you're talking about like staying in touch with your contacts and whatnot, like how do you do that? Why do you do that? Like, and what are some things that young people could do as they're building their contact list? Because that's it's like a golden nugget that I haven't like heard or considered yet. I'm like like before staying in touch with people, but like doing it in like the in like kind of career sense and whatnot. So I'm really interested about like hearing that from you.
Sure. So I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by really great musicians, but also just great people. I've played with a bunch of people that are now my good friends, whether it was in a pit or on a gig or wherever. So yeah, I guess it's a career thing, but it's also just like a friend thing and like a community thing. I think that's so important. Um, yeah, there's God, what can I say? There are communities within communities. There's especially being like a woman who plays trumpet or lead trumpet player, like
Mhm.
there are far and few of us and w- it's good to keep in touch and just
Yeah.
have a sense of community because sometimes it can feel isolating or I've definitely been on multiple gigs where it's, with some guy who's like, "Oh man, I can't believe your little lungs can push out all that air." Man, I'm just like, I would love for this to not be a conversation, but it always is. Being able to talk about stuff like that with people who have experienced stuff like that, especially who those who have been doing this decades longer than I have, like, I have so much respect for them, and, yeah, it's just important to keep in touch.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And I maybe a side tangent can talk about being a woman in jazz and trumpet and stuff for young girls who are want they look up to you, want to do what you do and make it as well. What would you say to them in regards to kind of those comments and stories that you hear and whatnot?
Yeah, I think that the community it's only growing. I look at the generation, like 2 generations above mine. Like there are trumpet players who I've looked up to since I was in high school, and there weren't many like female trumpet players to look up to. There just weren't, and now there's twice as many, 3 times as many as before, and it's only,
Yeah,
expanding.
it's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah, so I the more the merrier. Yeah, it's really inspiring to recognize that I was the young generation, like the new fresh generation coming in, and now seeing young just musicians in general um come in is just it's amazing. It's great. It's why we do this.
Yeah, I love it. Great. So in regards to this remote thing, like, where you're building websites and managing social media for artists and whatnot, how did that come to be? And how is that playing a role in your overall career? I guess not specific music career, but just like living, how does that play a role into everything you do?
Yeah, so again, this is, pretty recent stuff for me. One of my teachers, Nadia Nordhaus, she's such an amazing human being. Bless Nadia Nordhaus. She's amazing. She's helped me out in so many ways, but she, quite a few people, and she reached out a few months ago and was like, "Hey, one of my colleagues is looking for someone to do this, 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 and this. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Yes, I've never done that before." But yes, and just kind of spent a lot of time, researching how it all works and seeing if it works for me, and it totally does. Like it's a zen little ritual to just like open my computer and do an hour or two, you know and have a goal and get paid for it, and it's cool. So I'm definitely looking to expand my client list, and that is in progress.
That's great. And like, what kind of things are these people asking you to do?
It could be whether it's like following promotional contacts on their social media, or if their goal is to gain a following on social media or gain engagement. It's kind of like, okay, well, what is the algorithm like right now? Researching that kind of stuff, and just general like organization, whether that's for reviews or putting a shop together or finally doing this one thing that they've been putting off for years, or I mean, we all have stuff like that. Like I said, I'm still getting my website together for my big band. Like that would be something that I would want to hire someone for. Musicians, need something like that. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. but it's like almost easier to hire a musician, somebody who you know is a musician that you're like, this is what I want, and you understand, rather than just somebody
Yeah,
that
I'm
can do it, but they don't maybe understand what the goal of it is.
totally, yeah. I have a lot of friends who do specifically like media management for larger artists. And it definitely helps to be a musician and just know the scene and know the world and know what gets the attention of other musicians.
Yeah, exactly. And how much of your income would you say, like percentage wise, is this media management stuff that you do?
Well, like, I mean, like said, I just started. So it varies, you know, depending on if the client has a project coming up or what have you. But I have friends who have like 10 clients that, they get like 100 to 1,000 per month from each of them. So it adds up.
Yeah, that's not
Totally
too
adds
bad.
up. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. That's like a cool little side hustle, side business that
Mm-hmm.
like still like music related, but like a different skill at the same time.
Totally.
And it sounds like it's very flexible too.
I love it.
Really nice, especially for freelancers. Like it seems like there's less and less opportunity to just freelance and just be doing that, or even like because it seems like sometimes you'll have a lot of time, so like might as well
Mm-hmm.
fill that time with something
Yep.
to help. And yeah, you could do DoorDash or Uber or some of these different things that like yeah you can work as much and as little as you want, but it's not great pay either. But like it sounds like you've like found a little niche that like, is a lot more beneficial and it's helping other musicians and
Mm-hmm.
yourself, which is I'm like that's cool. That's a good thing to be able to have on the side.
Yeah, totally.
And then also I want to ask you about your big band. What
Mhm.
the inspiration behind that and goals for the group and everything. Tell me more about it.
Sure. Yeah, so the inspiration came from watching a documentary called The Girls in the Band, which covers the history of women in big bands and just jazz in general. And I was in high school, towards the end of high school, I think, when I saw the documentary, and I was just blown away. I was blown away because at that time I didn't know, like I knew a handful of women who were doing what I was doing, specifically like Liesl Whitaker played lead
Mm.
for the Army Blues Band, and I was so inspired by her. And when I saw this documentary, I was like, oh my God, there are so many women, and there always have been, and I had no idea any of them existed. Oh my God. So the documentary came out in either 2008 or I think 2011, I
Mm.
think is when it came out. And at that time it was touching on like, okay, well, this is the most, we're gonna work in chronological order. We're starting with the International Sweethearts of Rhythm, and we're ending with the Diva Jazz Orchestra. That was my first time finding out about Diva as well. And then, the roll credits and the doc was over, and I was like, oh my God, what happens now? And I started listening to Diva and watching old videos of them, and just like, oh my God, brought me so much joy. And I thought it was so cool. And right after I graduated high school, I had this opportunity, like it was literally handed to me. I will admit that for sure. Um, the, my There was a friend of mine in high school, and her father. They wanted to start a record label, and they had all of these like investors, and it seemed like really legit and cool. It was called Blue Collar Records. And she reached out to me and she was like, do you want to be our first client? You know, get like five or so musicians together and let's record an album. And I was like, oh my God, yay, that's so cool. Can I pitch this idea to you? And at the time I had an idea. I was like, I want to have an all-female big band one day,
Mm.
like just like the Broadway thing. Like, I'd really like to do that one day. And then like the next day it's like, hey, which is so amazing and mind-boggling. So I pitched her this idea, and she pitched it to her dad and the investors, and they were like, "We're doing it. We're doing this." And at that time, it was like kind of COVID times, coming out of
Mhm.
COVID. So I've been scouting through social media all of these women who are just so amazing and so online at the time, because that
Yeah.
was all there was. Um, and I started reaching out to them. We got the ball rolling, and we recorded this album. I wrote all the music, and yeah, it was a life-changing experience. And then a year later, I moved to New York, and the album was released. And I was like, I'm so young. I have so much to learn, but I did this really, really cool thing that I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
And the band's been doing well. Over the summer, we played 2 shows. One was at Birdland, the other was like an outdoor festival in Red Bank, New Jersey. And yeah, everyone in the band is super killing and just great people and some of my closest friends now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm very, very proud of that project.
Was that the album 1107?
Yeah.
Okay, I see it here. I looked on my on Spotify. I'm like, I gotta list all of it. I have I actually saved the tune I just found out about love.
Yeah. For
Great arrangement. And then is Alexa Fox the vocalist?
Yeah, she's my sister.
His sister. Okay, that was my next question. That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
she killed it on that.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I see Kellen on here too. I'm gonna have to listen to the rest of this.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow, it's so cool. Like connecting the two is like, wow, I love that recording, and it's like, oh, here you are. Like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you played a lead on the whole thing. I'm guessing.
No, so it was kind of like a Maynard situation. Summer Camargo played lead, and she's my lead trumpet player in the band. And I played like the screamer notes on the album. I like overdubbed it.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, that's so much
Yeah.
fun. I'm excited to listen to more of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. You're like, one day maybe these things will happen, and then they're
I know.
happening. What are you thinking will happen in the next 10 years that will probably happen in the next year?
Oh God. Well, I've really been enjoying the Broadway world. I would love to have my own show one day, like on Broadway. That would be incredible. Right now, I'm just kind of like juggling all of these things and trying to keep everything afloat. But I'm working on just like consistency of work and again like keeping up with my community and staying in touch with people. So yeah, I would love to get more like teaching under my belt. In that time, I have so much knowledge of the trumpet,
Uh-huh.
like how to physically play the trumpet um, from literally 6 different teachers that are all very different and very good. And I've kind of like smearing all of that information together into my own thing and digesting everything. And yeah, it'd be really cool to start teaching some of that stuff. Yeah, keep playing in big bands here and there. And I think that's my life.
I love it. That's great. I
Yeah.
mean, that's so many people I talk to. It's like, and myself who's like this and this and this and this, and it somehow all works together. And here we are.
Yeah, totally.
I love it. And maybe
Yeah,
one more question before we let you go and whatnot.
sure.
What would you say to and I realize, of course, still being young and whatnot, but what do you know now that you wish you would have known when you were younger?
Hmm. Ooh. Hmm. I'm thinking like high school me slash first year of college me. Musically, so we didn't really touch on this, like how finicky trumpet is and choosing for that to be your main source of income. And there's a lot of pressure there and a tiny little mouthpiece and a, piece of tubing. And this is something that I learned from Nadia. When I first moved to the city and when I was in high school, I was constantly giving 100% of my ability, constantly like overplaying, um, playing out all of the time. Like if I'm playing lead in a big band, I was constantly everything, everything, everything. But Nadia was like, if your like minimum is 80%, like if you're pushing 80%, if you're giving 80%, that's fine. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're constantly exerting yourself and going 100%, 110%, trumpet's finicky. Like you're gonna burn yourself out. You're gonna injure yourself. And I've done both of those things in the past 4 years. I pride myself on having a very zingy sound, bright zingy sound, and sometimes it's okay to back off a little bit and just play the note, play the phrase, whatever. Pace yourself and play smart and warm down because, I mean, your face is your life.
Yeah.
So be smart about it. And I think about a lot of like trumpet players I went to school with, and a lot of them were based more of like, I'm a soloist, I'm improvising, this is me playing, I pick up the horn and I immediately just start blowing. And then they get injured or they develop some kind of, face tremor or overuse injury, and that's your career. If you're going to run a marathon, would you eat a cheeseburger before and then just start running?
Yeah.
No. Like you're going to take care of yourself, you're going to warm up, and then you're going to run the marathon and warm back down.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that's your body, that's your life. Like it's important to take care of that. So that was a more technical specific answer, but often overlooked and very important.
Yeah. I agree 100%. There's so much beyond just playing that you have to think about and consider. And just, we've talked so much about a lot of that stuff. And thank you again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks, Jaden.
And yes, best of luck, and we'll talk again soon.
Cool. Sounds good.
Once again, we'd like to thank Grace Fox for being with us on the podcast. Be sure to follow her on Instagram and check out her big band on all streaming platforms. Comment your favorite insights and moments from the interview below, and don't forget to follow us for more content. My name is Jaden Bueno, and this has been the Modern Trumpeter Podcast. We will see you on the next one.